Everybody, we welcome Glen Travis Campbell to GAC.
Hey,
Classic.
thank you.
You
Great
doing
to be
all right?
here. Yeah.
Nice to
I
see
feel
you.
wonderful.
We're making so many memories here. We started out with Phoenix. You know, we've shortened these titles through the years. You don't say by the time I get to Phoenix
Right.
anymore, or lineman in the case of Wichita lineman.
Right.
As you look at those performances and you think about those songs and the memories that you and Jimmy Webb, who wrote so
Boy.
much of that early stuff, have given us, what comes to mind?
Oh, this really how great those songs are. First time I heard Phoenix, I cried because I was so homesick to get back to Arkansas and see Mom and the folks, and brothers and sisters. And Wichita lineman just, whew, I mean, he wrote it. He's just a genius writer. In fact, Wichita lineman ended up as the most played song of the millennium. And I guess that's ever, right?
Well,
Yeah. He got the award as a thing in New York, in Washington, D.C. I went back with Jimmy, and Burt Bacharach was there, and Hal David, and Dionne Warwick, and people that had a lot of airplay. But Jimmy won the award for his song.
And when did you guys first meet and know that you had something special?
Well, Jimmy, I didn't know Jimmy, and he didn't know me until, of course, I knew of Jimmy's work. But I saw by the time I get to Phoenix, and I said, boy, that's an unusual title for a song. Mm-hmm. And I got it. It's the old Johnny Rivers album. I got to listen to it, and just knocked me out. And that's when I went right in and cut it.
We talked about session work at the top of the show, and those early days for you. Who were all those folks you played with? We touched on some of them.
Oh gosh, I got to play with just, I was sitting in awe in the studio. I get to play with Sinatra, and got Strangers in the Night, and the Lazy Crazy Hazy Days of Summer album with Nat King Cole, and I got to work with some, like the Righteous Brothers. I did He's a Rebel, the Crystals, which was really Darlene Love and the Blossoms singing it. And oh my goodness, it was just marvelous.
And how old were you then?
Feeling.
About how during that time?
Let's see, I was like 30.
Yeah.
28, 30, and, yeah, 26, 27, 30, in that range.
Making great money at the time? Or were you just,
yeah, that's why I didn't want to. I had some records in the charts, and had a couple of hits here and there, and #1s in cities like Turn Around Look at Me was #1 in Seattle, and they kept wanting me to go out on the road. Well, I went out on the road a couple times, and I lost money. I said, I'm not in this business to go out on the road and sing. There's got to be some money coming in.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I just did the sessions until I got to where it was profitable to go out and sing on the road.
So did you save any of that money from those days?
Oh yeah, I still got, I'm Scotch. I squeeze a nickel till the buffalo hollers.
More great stories with Glen Campbell and a new opportunity here, the legacy work, which is, well, it's a span of about 40 years in his life in music. We'll be right back with more. Glen Campbell's our special guest after a short break. You're watching GAC Classic. Welcome back to GAC Classic. I need to introduce myself because this guy certainly doesn't need an introduction. I'm Bill Cody. I used to want to be Lester Flatt, and then I wanted to be Stonewall Jackson and Ray Charles. I think I want to be Glen Campbell, but it's already taken, at least on today's show.
You could be any of them,
This work, now this is not exactly what it's going to look like when it's all said and done, because it's got nice, marvelous packaging and stories and a booklet and, of course, the CDs, but it's the legacy, Glen Campbell, 1961 to 2002. That's a 40-year span, Glen.
Isn't that something?
And they're all in here, and probably stories that you'd forgotten, I would think, and pictures you'd forgotten had been taken.
Definitely. But they call me on some of the stuff, I'd have to set them straight. There's still a couple of things in it, but it's all like pretty much like it is when it comes out.
There was a story in there about you leaving Albuquerque in your car with your family and a puppy, and how much money did you have in your pocket?
Had about $300.
Yeah.
We ate scarcely for a while, but it worked out. It worked out fine. I got in actually pretty right off the bat with the Champs.
Right.
That was Seals and Crofts, and it wasn't the original Champs, but they owned the Challenge Records, owned the Champs group, so I went out on the road with them. And we did a tour, believe it or not, with Danny and the Juniors and Jack Scott, and we were the band.
Of course, Tequila that's what people would know the song when we
right.
talk about it. They go, oh yeah, I knew that
And
sounded familiar.
Seals and Crofts was in the band, a guy named Bob Morris. Boy, it was in the truck and in the bus, I tell you. I said, I want to get back and do studio work. I like that better.
He'll be, obviously, as you see this, he will be out in support of this in Branson and,
oh, yeah.
and several other areas that we'll be talking about, but it comes out next Tuesday. Glen Campbell, The Legacy from 1961 to 2002. And you just played the Grand Ole Opry while you
yes.
were in town. And when somebody was asking me, doing mornings on 650 WSM, when was the last time? I said, I don't know, but
I mean, it was I don't know when it was, but I remember walking out on the stage at the. I mean, they got a great band at the Opry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, especially Steve Warner. It's just so much fun to do that with him, boy, because that's Steve. You can't tell him from a good one, I mean.
We're going to take a look at something here that if Glen Campbell, there's one song in the Glen Campbell catalog that people had to pick. It wasn't necessarily the thing that sold the most or charted the highest, but there has been a magic about this John Hartford song through the years, regardless of who has recorded it, but you seem to have the signature version of Gentle on My Mind. When was the first time you saw this song, and what do you think about when we mention it?
I heard it on the radio. And it just knocked me out. I had to stop my car. I mean, it's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. I'm a lyric freak. I know I'm not so much with the music part of it then, but you know, unless it's an instrumental. But Gentle, just the words. As the guy said, the words and the lyrics really knocked me out.
What did Roger Miller said about you? That you were a legend. What was it?
A legend in his spare time.
Glen Campbell. Here he is with his sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind the couch there as we watch Gentle on My Mind on GAC Classic. I never get tired of hearing you sing it. Do you ever get tired of singing it?
No, I really don't. I've been so blessed to have, you know, the Phoenixes, the Wichita Linemen, the Gentle on My Mind. That's just fabulous. I love to say those words.
Glen Campbell's my special guest, Bill Cody on GAC Classic. With the release of the Legacy work, which comes out on Tuesday, the 30th, you're going to be supporting this by you'll be in Branson, certainly, which is where you've been spending a great deal of your performance time.
I've been going over with Andy Williams in the spring and the fall, and it's really worked out great. You know, we do 2 shows a day and then 1 show on one day, and then we're off a day. But it's wonderful to be there and, you know, sit down. And I don't have to go anywhere, get on a plane or a bus or something.
No, I talked to Andy recently because he was talking about the Osmonds working at the Moon River Theater with him. He said, who shows up on the golf course in Branson is the most interesting cast of characters, celebrity characters you can imagine. So share some of those names that people would recognize.
Shoji Tabuchi. He loves to play golf, you know, and he's got a great show in Branson.
He's the great fiddle player that many of you will know.
Right. And, everybody that plays in Branson. You'll see them out on the golf course because they love it, you know.
Now, do you have a particular partner that you like to play with, or a foursome that gets together regularly?
Oh, yeah. Andy and Don, his brother, and Gary Berzisi, my drummer, and some of the guys in my band. There's always a golf game, which I really like. And my daughter Debbie took it up, you know. Gotta watch out. I always stay behind her.
Does Vince Gill ever drop by? You know, he's our...
Vince, I don't know. Vince has played there, I know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Vince is a good golfer.
Absolutely.
Oh, he'd love Branson Creek. That's a fabulous golf course.
Glen Campbell's our special guest. We're back with more memories here on GAC Classic in just a moment. Watch this first. Hey, it's GAC Classic. I'm Bill Cody, and that, of course, is the great Glen Campbell. First time I ever saw you acting is in a thing called Norwood.
Oh, yeah.
And that had Joe Namath in it.
Yeah, Joe Namath and I. They couldn't find anybody to act, so they got a football player and a singer.
That played a singer.
That played a singer. That's a funny movie. It really is just, I mean, it's just funny looking at it. I look at it now and it's like, what's that guy that's got the 2 things on the TV show, and one of them is like a little dummy and the other one is, that's kind of what that show was. It's funny. I look at it now and I didn't realize it was such a comedy until I saw it again.
Would it have ever occurred to you to be an actor if you hadn't had success as a performer first?
No, it never would, because it takes too long to do it. You know, you go up and say, yeah, that's right, I rode with General Kirby in Shreveport, like a True Grit, and then you sit down and you don't say anything else for 2 or 3 hours. I didn't really like acting at all. I liked movies.
Yeah. How about the song True Grit when you mentioned that movie?
Yeah. Well, I'm so blessed. I get to sing, you know, a nominated, you know, song that was in the whole 5. Of course, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head won. We'd have to be up against the best song probably to ever win a Grammy.
Yeah,
Grammy.
okay.
What am I saying there? An Oscar. Well, Grammy is the same thing as an Oscar.
In the music field, certainly it is. And then when you burst into the living rooms, as I say, into people's lives in living rooms and national prominence on television, you were a summer replacement back in the late 60s for the Smothers Brothers.
Right. We did that in summer '68.
Now, did you know the Smothers Brothers at all? Is that how you came to replace them, or was it a network decision, something you'd already been working on?
Oh, no, I had played I had played on a couple of Tom and Dick's albums, you know, recording did session work, a lot of it. And they saw me on the Joey Bishop show. I did By the Time We Get to Phoenix and Gentle on My Mind. And they were in with Hartford, and they said, Tommy called me the next day and said, hey, he said, they're doing what they're doing. You want to host a summer show? And I went, wow, you know. And he said, can you talk? And I said, well, sure, I'm talking to you, ain't I, you know.
I'm from Arkansas.
Yeah,
I can tell a story.
I can tell a story. I can sing and play a guitar on the show. And anyway, I went out and actually did a tryout with them. And they said, that's great. Be yourself and do it, and that's the way it was. And the show was a big hit mainly because of the writing and the presentation of everything, you know. Because the writers like, you know, Stiller and Mira wrote for the show. They're now known as Ben's parents.
That's a very good point. Oh, we're going to take a look at Southern Nights. It's our next stop. And as an old Cajun boy, Alan Toussaint wrote this song.
That's right, man.
And how'd you get it? You recall?
Jimmy Webb played it for me.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
We're back to that Jimmy Webb connection again in the life and music of Glen Campbell. Let's watch. This performance, though, is very special for a reason, because of that orchestra.
Oh, yeah, the South Dakota Symphony. Wonderful.
Take a look here on GAC Classic, Glen Campbell. That's Southern Nights' unmistakable sound of Glen Campbell. That's not always been a huge orchestra production, mind you, but you had an interesting thought about radio and why it got played so much as you watched that.
Yeah, it got tons of airplay because it was 2 minutes long, and it really said something. Just as good. It's a happy, happy song. Southern Nights just as good even when close your eyes. I apologize to anyone who can truly say they found a better way. Alan Toussaint could write a song.
Southern Nights growing up in Arkansas must have included the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, it did, man. We'd heat the battery on battery radio. You can put it on a stove and get like another 2 or 3 hours out of one of them. And I learned to do that, and that was some of the first music that I heard.
Who were some of those names and people playing that music that you recall, as you said?
It was like Eddie Arnold, Hank Williams a little later. But it was the Opry stars.
Ernest Tubb.
Ernest Tubb, definitely Ernest Tubb.
Webb Pierce, probably.
Webb Pierce, yeah. Oh gosh, I remember that. Slowly I'm falling more in love. And it was just, but then when we couldn't get the Opry, we listened to whatever we could get on the radio. There would be a Glenn Miller playing, or there would be a Benny Goodman playing, and I got the whole smorgasbord of. There'd be bluegrass playing. And I got that whole smorgasbord from the radio, because we didn't have electricity when I grew up.
Now, but when you talk about bluegrass, the first chart success you had, I think, actually broken it, the chart, Green River Boys?
Yeah, Green River Boys.
That was bluegrass
Kentucky,
stuff, wasn't
right, Kentucky means paradise. K and the E and the T-U and the C-K-Y, that spells Kentucky. It means paradise. Always say something good about a town, and it's a hit, seems like.
Yeah. Now, in Manhattan, Kansas, we were talking earlier, you didn't start that one out just exactly like you should have made
Manhattan, Kansas ain't no place to have a baby. The minute you say that, you know people in Manhattan, Kansas don't like you.
I've been to Manhattan, Kansas. It's a great town.
It is a great town.
We'll be right back. Okay. His command of the lyrics is just amazing. He's only got, you know, 15,000 songs rolling around there at any given time. Most of them are on this legacy work that will be available on Tuesday from 1961 to 2002. Glen Campbell's here. He'll be back after this break on GAC Classic. Hey everybody, we're back. Glen Campbell, my special guest, watching Rhinestone Cowboy. You know what I still remember about Rhinestone Cowboy is it was so big. Johnny Carson riding out doing that, dressed in a white sequined cowboy outfit, riding a Shetland pony on the Tonight Show.
I know it. He always teased me about that. Johnny, he was funny, man. Johnny Carson was funny.
You still make your home in Phoenix when you're not in Branson?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hitting that golf course.
I went in Branson. We were there 6 weeks in spring. We were doing 7 weeks in fall.
And you've also, and we'll talk more about where people can get information, but you got some things planned for the holidays, which I know we're talking, we're sitting here in late September, but it'll be Thanksgiving and Christmas before we know it. That's right.
And we're doing a Christmas tour. We're going to do about 10 cities.
Well, I ask you
Yeah,
to
sing the Christmas stuff.
pick up that guitar and just do a medley of whatever feels right to you. As folks watch here at home.
Well, by the time I get to Phoenix, she'll be rising. She'll find a note I left hanging on her door. And she'll laugh just to think I'd really leave her. 'Cause I left that girl so many times before. I am a lineman for the county, and I drive the main road, searching in the sun for another overload. I hear you singing in the wire, and I can hear you through the whine. And the Wichita lineman is still on the line. That's a pretty good one. Oh, I like this one too. Okay. I've been walking these streets so long, singing some good old songs. Why, I know every crack and the dirty sidewalks of Broadway, like a rhinestone cowboy, riding out on a horse in a star-spangled rodeo, like a rhinestone cowboy, getting cards and letters from people I don't even know, and offers coming over the phone. Just like a rhinestone cowboy and cowgirl.
Oh, find out about the tour and what's going on in the life of Glen Campbell. Go to glencampbell.net. Go to .net, because if you go to .com, you get a car dealer in New York who's been there since the 40s. So make sure you go to glencampbell.net.
Right.
Hey, that's not enough. Don't forget now, on Tuesday, Legacy, the Glen Campbell work is going to be out from 1961 to 2002. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm Bill Cody, and that's going to do it for this hour and our visit with the great Glen Campbell. Why don't you play us out here? And we invite people, of course, to join us on weekdays, 9 to 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock weeknights, from the Jones Media Complex on Music Row. Here's a cat who knows all about that.
Well, if you see your brother standing by the road with a heavy load from the seas he sowed, and if you see your sister falling by the way, well, just stop and say, you're going the wrong way. Well, you've got to try a little kindness, show a little kindness, well, just shine your light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you overlook the blindness of narrow-minded people on their narrow-minded streets.
GAC classic, truly a classic.
Thank you.
Glen Campbell, come back and see me, all right?
Thank you. Sure will.